Interesting to note, Arthur started 9-0 yesterday, but has started 0-1-1 today.
Yeah, and that is the unfortunate thing, right? We talked before about how decks like Iron Valiant, it can be sort of feast or famine, right? It is very much, you hit the right matchups, you do well on the day, you're going to do very, very well, but we can go the other way around. And there we see Arthur Vincent on the table with a pretty decent set of accomplishments for this season already. Speaking
of Arthur Vincent, we didn't know what the matchup was. We are getting information at the same time as you. Arthur Vincent with that Iron Valiant EX is going to be playing against Aarni with that Mew V Max. So two of our top players, two players who are in great position to make top 8. And I mean, look, we get to see an Iron Valiant on stream. That is always fun. And we see Aarni there with a couple of nice accomplishments, including a top 64 at your Latin American International. So yeah, we've got a good matchup here. I mean, Mew's got high HP. Can Iron Valiant keep up?
This is one of the trickier matchups for Iron Valiant, and it's going to come down to, like, we haven't had a chance to look at the list yet. If Arthur's playing Spiritomb, that makes a huge difference, because if you can slow down the Mew player enough, you can eventually get to a point where you're trading up in you're doing the prize racing pretty well. But without Spiritomb, it is honestly one of your toughest matchups.
I got good news.
Yeah?
He's playing Spiritomb. I got the deck list right here, and I can see there is a copy of Spiritomb in the list. So yeah, it's a copy of Moltres as well, which is not a card we see in a lot of decks running around. And they've got the headsets on. We can give away the deck information. There is a Spiritomb, so that's going to help Freya.
Yeah, that absolutely is, and that's going to be absolutely key. That really, Spiritomb gives you a fighting chance, because if Mew can just draw the cards at once, chances are it will just outrace you. You're up against the deck that's, generally speaking, a lot more consistent. You have all the Fusion Strike systems to draw all the cards in the world, but suddenly if that's cut off, you have that time to catch up to the damage that the Mew can do.
Yeah, one of the sad things in this matchup, if you're the Iron Valiant player, there isn't really a good Yoga Loop target.
No, there isn't. And of course, Yoga Loop is a big part of the strategy that makes Iron Valiant so effective. Taking extra turns is pretty good, right? And yeah, all of the Mew's attackers and support Pokemon all have very high hit points, so not really a great Yoga Loop target option.
You have to really work for the Yoga Loop. Against decks like Charizard, you might have a 60 HP Charmander. We saw a 2-2 split in some of the decks yesterday. So 2 Tachyon bits, then you can Yoga Loop, and it's actually not that difficult to get that going, turn 1 going second. It is absolutely possible to have turns 2 and 3 of the game. There is nothing low enough HP for you to really Yoga Loop in Mew. Ooh, 2 Mew in the front. Now, there are 4 in the deck, but that is still not ideal. And Radiant Charizard on the other side.
Oh, yeah, that's some more than awkward prizes for both players here, but workable, but still not really what you want to see. But here we are off here in round 12. Who's going to be going first? Looks like it will be Aarni.
Yeah, Aarni's going first. We've got a Genesect in the active. Might want to go just full 4 Genesect 2 Mew here. Well, as soon as you find out that, in fact, it's not happening. And we've actually got a Feather Ball being played here. So I feel very confident this is going to be for a Mew, because it's got to be a Mew or a Mew V Max. They're the only valid targets for Feather Ball.
Yeah, that's Feather Ball. It's funny because it's a very powerful search card, but it is pretty much like Mew is the only thing that's made use of it so far. There aren't that many Pokemon that have a retreat cost of 0, but in the decks that you can make use of it, a very good card.
No, it really is a very good card, and it's generally played as a 1-of. It's actually a 2-of in this deck, so I don't often see 2 there. That is going to help with that consistency, so we get a Mew straight away, and this is where Aarni gets the bad news, and unfortunately, there are a couple Mew prized.
Yeah, and that's really not ideal. I mean, better than free prize, I guess. At least you have one to work with, but you really want to be getting down. We talked yesterday about how important it was to get free Mews down so that you can evolve 2 into Mew VMAX, but then still have the option to Psychic Leap by copying the third Mew V on the bench.
Indeed, and I'm not seeing a Suin Heavy Ball in this list, incidentally.
Oh, dear, okay.
That might be why there's a second Feather Ball in the list, but yeah.
Although, however, interesting to note, unlike the build we saw yesterday, this is more of a Fusion Strike energy-focused build. We see the Ice Cube in here. We do see the Meloetta.
So there are some early aggression, and there is also a Battle VIP pass to go along with the Feather Ball. And now we got a nice 2-2 split, 2 Genesect, 2 Mew.
Yeah, and so with that in mind, maybe you could consider not going for the 4 Genesect 2 Mew. Maybe you go for the more 1 single prize, 3 Genesect and 2 Mew instead, and there's the third Genesect down. Forest Steelstone for good measure. Gonna, as we talked about yesterday, it can be really good to have it but then not use it so that it's ready for later. But if he does need to set up this turn, he will.
Absolutely. We see a choice bout going down onto the Mew. Could be relevant, of course, with Entei V and Metacham V. So it is a modifier. It doesn't work in every matchup. It will work in this. Not against Iron Valiant, but against some of the others. So we've got more Fusion Strike system coming in here, drawing 1 extra card. I mean, there's not really a huge amount you need here if you're Aarni, but this is more of a Fusion Striker build. We've got 4 Fusion Energy. We've got a Lesser Sparkle as a 2 of. We've got their single prize attackers. Maybe we want to be trying to get some energy down turn 1. Obviously, we're not playing a supporter turn 1, but maybe a single prizer, maybe some energy. There's more setup Aarni could do here.
Yeah, and there's a tough decision here with the Path to the Peak. You know that you need to play Path to the Peak if you want to disrupt Arthur from being able to do Tachyon Bits over and over again. But if you don't have the means to sort of get rid of your own Path to the Peak afterwards, it can be a bit of a risky decision. So we see Aarni going for the Ultra Ball first, and I think after that it's going to be like a heavy debate as to whether you go for it, because it kind of forces you into using your Star Alchemy next turn if you do that.
It does, but it's a weird kind of build. Aarni's list is not like a lot of the Mew we've seen on stream this weekend. There's only 1 Path to the Peak. There's then 2 Lost City and 3 Lost Vacuum. So there are actually 5 outs to replacing your own Path to the Peak if you need to next turn. So that could be interesting. And we do see a Meloetta coming down here.
Okay.
So that single prize attacker could be coming in.
I mean, obviously, it won't be coming in straight away, given that Aarni is going first, but this is actually another important note. So I imagine, given that, Arthur's going second, that he won the coin flip and chose to go second. Going second with playing Iron Valiant is usually way more valuable because you can, get your supporters going, you can research turn 1, and you can draw through a lot of your deck, and you're way more likely to be able to find your turn 1 combo if you go second. And if Arthur can do that, there's a turn 1 KO on the table, and if you take a turn 1 KO against Mew, you're in very good stead to be doing very good things.
Absolutely, and let's not forget Meloetta's got 90 HP. It's hard to get it off in 1 turn with Yoga Loop. You need 4 Tachyon Bits, but it is doable. It can be done. It's certainly a better option than we see in most Mew decks. When we were talking earlier, we hadn't seen the list, and this one actually does have that Meloetta. That is a target, and we do actually see, like I said, we got the single prizer down with an energy on. It's not being used this turn, but it's being set up to be used more easily next turn.
It is. Now, Arthur actually has a pretty fantastic hand here, so has a Nest Ball ready to go, so can use that to grab themselves an Entei V, and then he has a Forest Steel Stone ready in hand as well, so you can just attach that to grab anything from the deck. And I believe what he has a Magma Base in hand already, so it has the Path to the Peak counter ready to go.
That could be good. We could be seeing a nice turn here, of course. Magma Base in that stadium that accelerates fire energy. Really good for getting your Entei V rolling, who is just a 2 energy attacker. And it does 20 plus 20 for each of your bench Pokemon and each of your opponent's bench Pokemon. And Aarni, because of the whole Fusion Strike system thing, has a full bench. So, and Genesect is weak as well. I mean, if you can use that Magma Basin, seems like a pretty easy turn 1 KO to me. Yeah,
it absolutely is, and that's one of the benefits that you have when you're playing Iron Valiant Entei against Mew, is just they're forced to bench as many Pokemon as they can, and like you mentioned, you can just very easily KO a Genesect because you are hitting for weakness. So really what it just comes down to is, can Arthur piece together Magma Basin plus fire in the discard plus energy from hand? That's really all he needs. Like, he doesn't really need to focus as much on getting the Iron Valiants down, because it's not really going to be the focus here. Although, Escape Rope. Okay. So this is interesting.
I kind of don't mind this, because if you're Aarni, they're all bad decisions. You don't want to give up one of your 2 Mew. You don't want to give up a Genesect, and you don't want to give up your single prize attacker that's already got an energy on. Yeah, no. And we saw the decision there. That all of those decisions were rubbish.
Yeah. Especially if you put the Meloetta up as well, that opens up for Arthur to, we mentioned, is playing that, of course, single prize Moltres. So if you can get a fire in the discard and just accelerate to the Moltres and Magma Basin, that's suddenly doing 90 damage, and that can KO the Meloetta with a single prizer. Yeah, for a single energy, it does 90 damage to anything that's already got damage counters on. No, it does 20 and then 70 more if it itself is damaged.
Oh, my apologies.
Yeah.
And then, it does 90 and gets that KO on the Meloetta quite easily. The other thing is, if I'm Arthur, I want to try and drop a bit of damage on that Meloetta this turn. Even like 1 Tachyon Bits, because I know at some point Aarni's going to want to attack with it. And I don't want to use something like an Entei to take out the Meloetta. I want to either take out the Meloetta with Tachyon Bits, or I want to Yoga Loop it to get an extra turn. I don't want to have to just attack and KO that single prizer. I want to get rid of it in a cheeky way, which allows me to keep putting pressure on those 2 prize Pokemon.
Yeah, absolutely. And we do see Arthur did find a Battle VIP pass off that Professor's Research, finding another Entei and a Squawk ability, of course. Very important to get your turbo going turn 1 with that Squawk and Seize ability, allowing you on the first turn of the game at any point to use it. You can discard your hand and draw 6 cards. And there's a Spiritomb as well.
But this is awkward, because now you've got 4 of your 5 bench spots taken up. If you go Squawk ability, that gives you 1 Iron Valiant.
But that's okay in this matchup. That's the thing. This is not a matchup where you're going to be focusing on doing a lot of Tachyon Bits. And no, that does not work. You have a Spiritomb down. You cannot fleet-footed under a Spiritomb, my friend. I'm really sorry.
Did we see the draw coming down there?
There's a counter on the Entei.
Yeah, because Spiritomb is a double-sided thing. It reads basic Pokemon in play, yours and your opponent's have no abilities.
Yeah. It's funny because that's something I was literally just about to mention, that the problem with the Spiritomb is that you can't use your own fleet-footed, and that's exactly what Arthur's done.
Can we confirm there was definitely a card drawn from fleet-footed?
Yes, you drew a card, you put a marker on the Entei. So yes.
Okay, so we have seen the Iron Valiant come into the active here and can drop some damage counters. Of course, it's not a Pokemon V, so it can drop damage counters. It's not turned off by Spiritomb.
Yeah, I think there's a debate there. But yeah, no, you can't fleet-footed when there's a Spiritomb in play. Yeah.
So, okay, so it does seem like there is a bit of a discussion going on here. And Freya, I'm trusting you on this one, but you're telling me that the Entei was used to draw a card after the Spiritomb,
no,
and of course, and that's the awkward thing, right? Because you play Spiritomb as a counter for Genesect. We've all done this, right?
Yes.
You don't bench Spiritomb thinking, I'm turning off Pokemon V. You bench Spiritomb being like, in your face, Genesect. That's what you're thinking. Sorry.
No, absolutely. I'm agreeing. And then, but then you realize, oh, wait, this stops my own Pokemon V as well. And that's, and it does hurt. You think, oh, it's only one card per turn, but that extra little bit of consistency from fleet-footed makes a huge difference in how you can set up. So, you know, it is a sacrifice that's worth making, but it's just something you have to bear in mind.
It is, and that's the thing. You're so focused on got it, Genesect, that you forget that actually you've got a Pokemon V, and that Pokemon V's got an ability, and you're playing on stream. Playing on stream is stressful. We've seen this time and again. You're on the stage. The table is weirdly big compared to what you've been playing on all weekend. You got the headphones with the white noise. It is easy to make these mistakes, and it's one of those things you do it automatically. I've got an Entei in the active. Of course I'm going to draw a card. How many games have you actually played Spiritomb this weekend?
Yeah, well, maybe that's the other question, right? Because, of course, it's not something you use in every single matchup. It is a very useful card, but, you know, you're not going to be facing Mew all day. You're not going to be facing Snorlax all day, so maybe a lot of times you just don't even think about it, but now you think, oh, great, and now I get to use my tech, but then you forget about how it impacts you as well, and then you end up in a situation like this.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, but look, I mean, if you've played enough games of Pokemon, you've done silly things. I had a game, I think it was actually a game against you many years ago, get the sepia filter on, where we got like halfway through the turn, and I was like, did I draw a card for turn? And we're like round 4 or 5 of a regional, and I'm like, I legitimately can't remember if I drew for turn. Because it was a regional and I was doing well. It was many years ago in Manchester.
Oh, Manchester.
And there was an actual discussion between us. Did I draw a card for turn? Legitimately couldn't remember. You couldn't remember if I drew a card for turn. We have all had these little moments in Pokemon tournaments. It happens.
I legit forgot about that one. I mean, we've played a few times, I think, in the past. But
we played a bunch, yeah. We both used to go to many, many tournaments all around the UK. Yeah. But going back to the matchup then, let's say the Iron Valiant isn't doing much. I still want to see a few Tachyon bits onto the Meloetta.
Yeah, that would be a nice setup. And like we were talking about earlier, so you don't need a lot of Tachyon bits when you're playing against Mew, but you still want a couple because, yeah, especially if it is this build, right? You can just put a couple on the Meloetta, put on a couple more. Suddenly, maybe you can actually do that Yoga Loop that we just mentioned is quite hard to do in this matchup.
But we did see one Tachyon bits, and it didn't go onto the Meloetta. It went onto one of the Mew. The theory, of course, here being Entei is a very good attacker, but it really kind of tops out at 220.
Yes.
2 full benches, 220. So against a Mew, brilliant. Against a Genesect, humming with weakness as well, hilarious. Against a Mew V Max, that is a lot more awkward because all of a sudden Mew V Max, they've got a lot more hit points. Yeah. So you're going to need to drop some of those Tachyon bits. You don't necessarily want to KO many Mew V Max. You want to go after the single prizes, using your gusting, etc. But sometimes you do need to go through a Mew V Max. Yeah,
and especially what you can do is, of course, you play Radiant Charizard in this deck, so with that option in play, you build up the Tachyon bits onto a Mew V Max, and then the 250 damage from the Radiant Charizard can actually get you there for the KO. It's a little bit better number to work with in terms of the build-up.
Yeah, 3 Tachyon bits puts Mew onto 60 damage, and then that 250 from Charizard puts you up to 310, which is that magic number to go and KO that Mew V Max. So we're going to be looking at that as we go through, but of course, if I'm the Mew player here, I'm just kind of like, yeah, maybe I bring my undamaged Mew and VMAX into the active and I work around that. So it's kind of awkward because you know your opponent's going to react to that. If there's one damaged Mew that is in Charizard range, that's probably not going to be the one the Mew player is going to bring active unless they really have to.
Absolutely. By the way, we've just gotten a word here that's about what's happening in the game. So yes, we can confirm Entei was used on the Spiritomb. The card was shuffled back into the deck, and because of that, Arthur's now has a double prize penalty. So you can see there the 2 red marked Pokeballs on Aarni's side. That means that Aarni will need to take 2 less prizes to win the game.
I actually can't see those 2 red-marked Pokeballs, I'll be honest with you. My color blindness is getting me. But it means that Aarni only has to take 4 prizes to win the game, and that is a big difference. Like we open this, and you explained to us very nicely, Freya, how this is a matchup which is difficult for Iron Valiant to navigate. Having to navigate it, taking an extra 2 prizes, that's not ideal, frankly.
No, it's not, especially because, like I also mentioned before, you know, if you can take the first 2 prize knockout, that is actually one of the ways you can put yourself in an advantage in this matchup. But now, suddenly, even if you do that, you're still behind on that tempo prize race. So yeah, it's very, very tough.
Yeah, unfortunately, but we are back on Arthur now. We've got an energy onto the Entei. Looks like we got an energy coming on from the Magma Basin as well here. That's going to take a couple of damage counters. Of course, that's where the interaction with Moltres comes in. The self-damage from that is wonderful. Works it beautifully. And now we got Entei in the active with 2 energy. It's going to be hitting 440 damage against his Genesect.
I think that's definitely enough for KO.
I think that might be enough. So Genesect goes away. Arthur goes up by 2 prizes, but that prize penalty is looming large.
It is. Now, if I'm Aarni here, I'm thinking, okay, I was going to say I'm thinking, let's grab that Elisa Sparkle from the Power Steel Stone, but no, it was already in the hand.
And that is awkward when you're only playing 2 of them. They can be hard to draw into, but we know how much draw these Mew decks have, and this is what we've been talking about. You put the Fusion Strike energy onto the Genesect, and Fusion Strike energy says that the fusion Pokemon it's attached to cannot be affected by your opponent's abilities, and that will include Spiritomb. So Spiritomb, ironically, is now turning off the Fleet-Footed on Entei, but it's not turning off Rapid Strike system.
Yeah, and of course, it is a benefit, right, still, that you do force your opponent to commit fusion energies to the Genesects and not the Mews, but the Mew deck has the double turbo energies. They can still attack and take KOs very easily, especially when they now have the options to draw so many cards with the Genesects that are now re-enabled.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, there's still 1 fusion energy in the deck. There's another Lesser Sparkle. So we can attach 1 to a Meloetta and do a very big attack later in the game. Now, Meloetta is something I've got my eye on. I know Arthur's board doesn't really allow for multiple Tachyon bits in this matchup to really go after the Meloetta, but I think we're going to see a big 2 prize KO from Meloetta at some point, and that's starting to worry me a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, we do see another Genesect going down. Now, I don't know if there's another Fusion Strike energy in hand. Of course, if there was, you could attach that, and then that Genesect would also be enabled. But then you're also committing to not attacking with the Mew, because, of course, you need 2 energy on it to attack. So I imagine Aarni will just leave that Genesect as is for now, but really wants to find that double turbo energy to take a knockout on this Entei.
Yeah, you do need that double turbo energy or you're not going to be attacking. You will need a modifier, but of course there is already a choice belt attached. And like we said, there's Pokemon V like Entei that will be affected by that choice belt. So just a double turbo and you're good. And we can guarantee it with Forest Seal Stone if we need to.
Yeah, and I think that might be necessary because
there we go.
Yeah, Aarni did not in fact draw it off of that second Fusion Strike system, so grabs the double turbo energy straight away. We're probably going to see that attached to the active, and then see an announcement of cross Fusion Strike, copying Technoblast, and then Aarni's just 1-2 prize knockout away from winning.
I kind of love how there was already a Forest Seal Stone down, but Aarni attached the second and then used that second one. That was quite nice. But we do have the double turbo energy onto the Mew with the choice belt. He's going to get the easy KO on the Entei because of that self-damage. So that leaves Aarni just 2 prizes away. And look, if you attach a Fusion Strike energy to Meloetta next turn or using a Lesser Sparkle, it's going to be hitting 280. That's going to be the game.
Yeah, really rough position for Arthur. It would have been like bad enough even if Arthur hadn't had a 2 prize penalty, but with it, it's looking very, very, very tough right now for Arthur to come back here. So I imagine he's going to give it his best shot. I mean, there's still one benefit about playing something like Iron Valiant. You both win and lose games very quickly. This is one of those decks that does not tend to tie very often, and that can be a valuable asset in a tournament. We talk about how one of Gardevoir struggles is that it struggles to finish games in time. Entei Valiant is the complete opposite.
And Arthur did go 9-0 yesterday. No ties, 9 wins, all good. I got to say, though, if Arthur carries on and loses this game, to go from 9-0 to 9-2-1, starting with 2 losses and a tie in day 2, out of the first 3 rounds, that is something players don't want to be in. You're on such a high, you've got such a boost after finishing 9-0, and there are not that many tournaments we even see anyone go 9-0. Needs to start sacking some wins.
Yeah, so finds the Radiant Charizard there. Of course, we did see it come out of the prizes.
But there's no damage on the Mew.
No, there's not. And this is the problem, right? We were talking earlier about how the way you attack with Radiant Charizard in this matchup is you build up the damage on the Mew with Tachyon Bits, and then you come in and finish off with the Radiant Charizard. But there's 2 problems here. There's that, and there's also the fact that because Aarni's only taken 2 prizes, this Radiant Charizard needs free energy to attack.
Yeah, of course you can use Magma Basin if you can find one to replace Lost City. It is a deck which can attack with Radiant Charizard more quickly than a lot of decks because of that Magma Basin. But of course, you can attach, you can Magma Basin. Where's the third energy coming from?
Well, I mean, the way you can do it is you can attach like a double turbo and Magma Basin. That was the way to do it. But then you're doing 230, so you're even further away from being able to attack. But
you need your Tachyon. You need another Tachyon Bits. Yeah. We already need 3 Tachyon Bits. Now we need 4 with 1 Iron Valiant in play.
Oh, I mean, there's 2.
Oh, my apologies.
Yeah, but it's still.
We still need 4 with 2 Iron Valiant in play. That still doesn't add up.
It's still not great. No question about that. If you can, okay, here's the move. If you can fire off 2 Tachyon Bits this turn, and then attack a Radiant Charizard, fire off 2 more next turn, and then take the last prize off of the Genesect. That's your game plan. That's your prize map.
Yeah, and of course there is an Entei in play which will take that prize on the Genesect very easily, or even Mew if it doesn't get VMAXed, which it probably will, but it's not at the moment.
Yeah.
But we need a Magma Basin first, and I'm assuming that's what we're getting off of the Forest Seal Stone. That does look like what Arthur's going for. That is a big piece of the puzzle which we just don't have right now.
Yeah, Arthur did not need to use the Forest Seal Stone in the early setup turn, so did have that one in reserve on the Entei V and was able to fire off that Star Alchemy now and just grab the Magma Basin, so we'll be able to attach and attack with the Charizard. And I do see enough switching cards to do more Tachyon Bits, but slight problem, I think they're escape ropes. That's not what you want to be doing right now, really.
Escape rope this turn is fine if you've got Gusting next turn.
Yes, or another rope, I guess. But
then Mew's just going to KO and win the game next turn with any kind of Gusting, so...
yeah, and that's the problem.
It gets incredibly awkward. I honestly, I don't mind it, but you've got to make sure that you're getting a KO this turn and next turn. You don't have to get the Mew VMAX, but you need a KO this turn and next turn. And honestly, Aarni needs... Well, if the Mew is still there, Gusting. If the Mew isn't still there... Fusion Energy and Gusting.
Yeah, I'm trying to get a good look at Aarni's hand right now to see like what he can like play out, because there's still it's only 2 Genesects are active right now, so I don't think I see the pieces for the win right now in Aarni's hand.
Now, one of them is being turned off by that Spiritomb. So Spiritomb is putting in a little bit of work. Here comes a Charizard, and I believe there was only 1 Tachyon Bits that we saw come down onto the Mew here.
That's not ideal, really. Wait, why is that 2 on... Oh, there's 2 on the Mew.
Yeah, for the only other Tachyon Bits we've seen this game.
Yeah.
So this puts Mew up to 250 with the 230, 250 minus 20 for the double turbo, plus the Tachyon Bits should be 250, and it is. That's 3 Tachyon Bits away from being KO'd.
Yeah, that's. I mean, I guess you can pull it off if your Radiant Charizard gets KO'd, and then you can venture the third Iron Valiant. But
that's what you're looking for.
Yeah, but it's really not where you want it to be. So it looks like it's going to be. Oh wait, is there? Right, yeah. Now it's 250. Yeah, they just put the wrong amount of damage on. Oh no,
it's on 270 at the moment. It should be 250.
Yeah.
250 was correct. It's 230, and then you've got the minus from the double turbo, the plus from the Tachyon Bits. They cancel each other out. Yeah. It is exactly 250. That is correct.
It is. So Aarni doesn't have the win yet. He's not slammed anything down, so it's going to be a matter of playing cards out of the hand and then trying to find some kind of gusting card to bring up a 2-prizer to win. So can Aarni do it? I guess he also, to be fair, he also needs a switching out, because you used the Cross Fusion Strike last turn with copying Technoblast, so you need to kind of reset that as well.
Or a Fusion Energy onto Meloetta to allow that to attack instead, and then just free retreat the Mew. Yeah, you're right.
Work,
we need more than just Gusting. It's Gusting plus a switch or a Fusion Energy.
Yeah, actually, no, you don't even need a Fusion Energy. Well, okay, you need it to power up the attack, but you don't need it for the extra damage. You can just bring up the Squawk ability. That will...
oh, absolutely, but you need it to attack with a Meloetta.
Yeah. But it also means a double turbo would work. You just attach that to the Meloetta. It's Psychic Colors for the attack cost.
Yeah, and then it would do 190, so that would work. That would get the Squawkabilly quite nicely.
So some Lost Vacuums being played to thin out the hand, it looks like. Getting rid of a Judge, and then a Roxanne. Is it maybe? Yes? No? Yes?
Yeah.
And it's interesting because we see there's a Battle VIP pass in hand, and you might think, oh, why isn't Aarni getting rid of that? Of course, very importantly, it's because you want a item discard fodder in case you draw a Cramomatic, so you have another out for yourself.
There is the switching out, so we've got that quite nicely.
Yeah, obviously Arthur's going to bring up the Spiritomb here. It's the only thing you can bring up if you want to not lose.
Yeah, and of course you now got a Mew in the active with free retreat, so that's nice and easy. And now we start drawing with the with one of your 2 Genesect. You get 5 first of all, because you've got 6 Fusion-type Pokemon in play. We have got an Energy if you want to attach with the Meloetta. We don't have a Boss's Orders.
But there's that Cramomatic. We just talked about
there
it.
is.
So a heads here will win the game for Aarni.
It's a heads!
That will do it.
You go and get the Boss's Orders, and then you can just go and attack with the Meloetta into the... I'm assuming Squawkabilly. Yes, it's got to be Squawkabilly there. That's how you win the game. And then you can attack with Mew, or you can attack with Meloetta. Doesn't really matter. It's going to be the Mew here, because that's all ready to go. Mew KO Squawkabilly, and with that 2 prize card penalty, that gives Aarni all the prizes needed to wrap up game 1.
Yeah, phenomenal stuff. And again, another fearsome display of the power of Mew VMAX. A little bit unfortunate there for Arthur, of course. I really think that were it not for that prize penalty, he would have had a pretty decent shot at that game, because he was able to get that first turn knockout, but with the prize penalty, there was just no way. No,
it was never going to work, not with your opponent only having to take 4 prizes. When you start with something that is a rough matchup to begin with, and then your opponent has to take 2 fewer prizes to actually go and win, that is, it's too much of an uphill battle. And, you know, Arthur played that game very, very nicely. We saw the maneuvering. We didn't see enough Tachyon bits for some plays, but like you said, there were other Pokemon we needed on the bench instead, and it was just... Maybe with another turn, Arthur could have maneuvered into a winning position. Didn't have that extra turn.
No, just didn't have that extra turn. So Arthur's probably going to be going second again here. The game plan is the same. You just want to set up your Iron Valiant and your Entei. You want to get that turn 1 knockout. So it's going to be up to Aarni going first to see if maybe he can put down that pass at the peak. Maybe this time Arthur doesn't have the counter, and that way, you know, he can't set up and can't get that turn 1 KO. But that's going to be what Arthur needs to aim for.
Or even just, you know, leave something like a Meloetta or an Ice Cube in the active, and then don't play any other single prize Pokemon all game. Because if you've only got 1 single prizer on the board, KOing it does nothing.
Yes. Well, okay. I guess that's not strictly speaking true, because you can go 1 prize, KO a Mew, KO a Genesect. That's still a prize map that works.
I suppose you can, but as we saw in the previous game, KOing that Mew VMAX, it proved difficult.
It's a tall order for sure.
You really need to have 2 or 3 Iron Valiant really going in that matchup to go after your Mew VMAX. If that's going to be a prize map, you need to be using 2 or 3 Tachyon bits per turn. And we saw 1 each on 2 separate turns.
Yeah.
It was not a big Tachyon bit, sorry.
No, it's all good. It's to add to your point, it's the one instance where the Iron Valiants actually matter, because otherwise, let's face it, you don't really need Iron Valiants that much. You have a Fire-type attacker that can KO Genesect in 1 hit, that can KO a Mew V in 1 hit, but when you get to the Mew V Max, that's when the Iron Valiant really matters, and the Tachyon bits really need to add up.
But it's something interesting we saw in the previous game. No, nothing huge in the prizes there. Nothing that's going to make anyone too terrified.
Well, I mean, to be fair, Ice Cube actually could be a pretty decent attacker in this matchup. You could block slide it on the actives to KO Entei V by hitting for weakness.
You can, but it was not something Aarni even looked for in the previous game.
No.
So I don't think it's necessarily part of his game plan. But it's something which is awkward for Arthur here. Because, there's a Spiritomb V in the active, which is turning off Spiritomb, and you cannot, unless a Sparkle, Fusion Energy, turn 1, so those Genesect will not be going turn 1.
That is just about as good a starter as Arthur could have asked for. Absolutely phenomenal stuff here, and now Aarni's going to be feeling really, really bad about himself right now.
But it does mean you can put down the path to the peak and be like, look, if I can't have my abilities, you can't have yours.
Yeah, we did, of course, just mention it as well, right? We said, if Aarni can find the path to the peak early, maybe Arthur doesn't have a counter. That could be a way of stopping that turn 1 KO, but it's a little bit harder to kind of make that meaningful when you can't set up yourself because you can't draw any cards.
Is Aarni going to bench another basic here? Because if not, we could be going to Donktown.
It's a tough one, right? I think you kind of have to in the end, because you still want to get a Genesect down.
Oh, you've got a Genesect in hand. You have to.
Yeah. But he's really umming and ahhing about this.
I mean, the good news is, if you don't have a bench, then you're not actually losing the Mew, because the Entei's nowhere near. The Entei does like 120.
Yeah, so he's going to decide to bench it, but maybe he's thinking, look, if you have it, you have it, and I'd rather just like concede that and go on to the third game quickly, but in the end decides, you know what, no, I do want to bench this. Now, of course, that Fusion Strike energy is there in hand, only problem being, you've just played down a path to the peak, so therefore it means that, you know, you can't draw even with that Fusion Strike energy on the Genesect V.
You can, but you also can't get your hand down low enough to draw when you've only got 2 fusion Pokemon. Anyway, this is awkward. Now, of course, Entei is miles away from KO in the Mew. There was a possibility of using multiple Tachyon bits and then getting the KO with Entei, but that's going to be awkward.
Okay, so let's see here. There is, okay, hand not quite as, you know, broken as it was last time, but there is a Nest Ball, so you can use that to grab an Entei. There's a Forest Seal Stone, so you can use that to grab Professor's Research and to try and dig into your deck for your out. So definitely still workable here for Arthur. And it's also 2 Fire Energy in hand, so you can attach one, research away the other. That sets up your Magma Basin nicely as well. It's very workable for Arthur right now.
It is. Now let's assume Arthur gets a full bench. That's going to leave 6 bench Pokemon in total, which means that you're going to be doing 140 with Entei V. That means that you need 2 Tachyon bits to go and KO the Mew. Would have been free without the bench Genesect.
However, you can't actually do that because the Fusion Strike energy is on the Mew, and as we just mentioned, that prevents the effects of abilities.
Exactly, that was going to be where I finished off there. Even if you got those 2 Tachyon bits, which is very difficult in the first place, Mew says no abilities. I'm not turned off by, you know, the Genesect isn't turned off by Spiritomb. The Mew doesn't get the damage from Tachyon bits. So it was a very long way round of saying there will be no turn 1 KO.
No, there won't. So I guess
unless there's an escape rope.
Yeah, escape rope is going to be the key find here. So now you have to go for this Star Alchemy now. There's really, you can't really do it. If you don't Star Alchemy now, your turn's basically over. So here we go, Star Alchemy, going to find that Professor's Research and really hope to find a Magma Basin at the very least. Then maybe some Battle VIP passes just to really try and get going.
A Magma Basin escape rope would be great here, because that would give you the pivot into getting Entei in the active, while also forcing the Genesect in the active as the only bench Pokemon. I think you would need a couple more bench Pokemon. You'd only actually currently be hitting for 160, so you would need 1 more bench Pokemon to pull it off.
Yeah, so here we go. Professor's Research, a very crucial 7 cards here for Arthur. What does he find? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Keep us in suspense. Show us the hand, Arthur.
He's making sure he doesn't draw any extra cards. There's the escape rope and the Magma Basin. Do we have 1 more basic Pokemon to bench? We do. There's a couple of Iron Valiant in hand.
Yeah, we don't have 1. We have 2. And this is about as good as you could ask for, because you have been able to do this setup without even needing to bench a Squawkabilly. So there's no easy 2-price target for Aarni to take down later on. This is actually a really good turn from Arthur.
And there's an extra bench space for Iron Valiant, and I still contend back in game 1, the lack of Iron Valiant was a problem. It took KOs off the board, especially that Mew V Max towards the end of the game. So having more down this game while also getting this early KO is putting Arthur in a great position. There are both the Iron Valiant coming down, and now Escape Rope just guarantees a KO on the Genesect, and Arnie's going to look back to turn 1 and be like, maybe I shouldn't have benched it.
Yeah, but like, again, well, I was just trying to think, if you don't bench it, are you at risk of just like losing anyway? But then, of course, you're not, because you've limited your bench, so there's no way you could get a turn 1 knockout. No,
the Fusion Strike energy, topping Tachyon bits, guaranteed no KO on the Mew. The only valid target for a KO this turn has been the Genesect, and Escape Rope will now guarantee the KO on the Genesect. It kind of doubles as gusting when your opponent's only got 1 bench Pokemon, because they don't have a choice what comes active, and there's a KO on the Genesect. And look, you've been saying it, Freya, turn 1 KO going second, you got your wish.
Yes. And now there's a double duty being pulled here, because we just talked about how obviously the Fusion Strike energy is very important so that you can still draw with Genesect on the Spiritomb. If your Genesect gets KO'd, you can put as many Fusion Strike energies on it as you want. You can't draw if it's been knocked out.
I mean, Pokemon that are not on the field generally don't have abilities unless they're called Ho-Oh.
Oh, now you're bringing me back, goodness me.
Yeah, we're going back some years there again.
My first ever City Championship win with Ho-Oh EX, the old one.
Oh, I remember.
Yeah.
But here we've got the Lost Vacuum coming down, getting rid of the Magma. And that Magma Basin has been a pest. It has been a pain. And Aarni has been getting rid of it constantly, because it's actually like that little bit of energy acceleration onto the Entei, onto the Radiant Charizard has been huge. Now Aarni's playing a judge. He's going down to a 4-card hand with no Genesect on the board, and that is what Mew really relies on most of the time. Aarni is in trouble here.
Yeah, drawing 4 cards after a shuffle from a judge turn 2 with Mew is really not where you want to be. These had to be 4 very good cards, and okay, we do see a Genesect V and the Forest Sealstone, but
Arthur's got an escape rope in hand.
Oh dear, oh
So
dear.
you really don't want to end that. And here's the thing, like Iron Valiant is a deck where you switch in and out. You know your opponent's playing 4 rope. That is not a secret.
No.
You've just lost a Genesect to a rope. You really don't want to leave a Genesect on the bench solo, because it's probably going to happen again. And spoiler alert, it's going to happen again.
Yeah, Aarni is really agonizing here. You can attach the Forest Sealstone to the Mew. That, of course, does still work. It is a Pokemon V that will enable you to use the Star Alchemy, but yeah, I mean, oh, Aarni just energy mixes.
Oh, that is not what you want. And I mean, look, you know if you bench a Genesect, it's probably going down. We know that Arthur would need to play the Professor's Research and hit any switching card or an energy to guarantee the KO on the Genesect. So not benching the Genesect is the right move here. And look, that Mew is not getting Tachyon Bit. It is not getting KO'd this turn. But you can start getting pretty close, and you can do enough damage that if it V-maxes, it's still easily in range.
Yeah, like this is still a very, very great situation for Arthur, because, yeah, you do, say if you get another bench Pokemon down, which it looks like Arthur is going to do, you're then doing 120 to a Mew V. Even when it evolves to a V-max, you're in range for a double full bench knockout with Burning Rondo. So it's actually the perfect amount of setup damage to do.
And if I'm Arthur here, I'm like, look, there is no point trying to get my Tachyon Bits. There's literally nothing I can drop damage on. Let's set up my board a bit. Let's get a second Entei. Let's see if I can get an energy down on the board, onto Charizard or onto Entei, and just hit the Mew. There's your switch cart, plus an escape rope, just literally to heal that damage from the Entei. And then you Professor's Research.
Yeah. It's actually quite a relevant heal, because, of course, that means that Mew VMAX needs to find one more damage modifier to KO, because Entei has 230 HP.
Yeah, and Mew with one modifier hits 220. With the 20 damage, it's a KO. Without, you need a second modifier.
Yeah. So, what's...
They were explaining how the damage got healed off.
Yeah.
Essentially, you switch cart heals the damage, then you escape rope to bring it back into the active, and Aarni doesn't switch because there's nothing with which to switch.
Yeah. And there's no Tachyon Bits because there's Fusion Strike energies on the Mew. So Arthur now setting up onto the Radiant Charizard.
I like this.
Yeah.
I love this because it gives you a better attacker. If Aarni doesn't fill his bench and you need to KO a Mew V Max next turn, Radiant Charizard is a better attacker.
It really is. Now, Aarni draw... What was that they just drew for turn? I didn't quite see. I think it was a power tablet? Or was it a choice bout? I'm not sure.
There's a choice bout in that. It doesn't really matter.
No, I guess not.
It's not. Whatever it is, it's not really doing the trick. There is a judge to fall. You need power tablet. Oh, you don't know. You don't need any modifiers here. Because you're using fusion energy, double turbos. It's very rare to see a Mew not having damage reduced by double turbo. But that is the case here. So finding that choice bout alone does the trick. Mew will now hit 240. So a Mew VMAX, if drawn off this judge, will get a KO on the Entei.
One of those rare instances where the damage reduction from double turbo on Mew actually makes a big difference, because now with the lack of a 20 reduction, just able to find the KO just with a choice belt.
Now, do you want the bad news?
Yes.
It means that Aarni has then taken 2 prizes, so Charizard just needs a basic fire to get the free prize return KO.
That is the tricky bit. These cards that essentially punish your opponent for winning, like Radiant Charizard, we have a few examples of that in the format, right? So it makes your opponent have to think so differently, because you need to take prizes to win, but if you're doing that, then you're enabling your opponent's strategy as well.
And weird, we see with Charizard EX as well as with Radiant Charizard. Now, we do see a Feather Ball here. That is going to get the Mew V Max. The problem is we are 1 basic energy away from a return KO. There's actually a Magma Basin in hand, although you would need to accelerate to the bench and find a switching out.
I don't think finding a switching out should be too hard for a deck called with a deck like Iron Valiant. But
you say that, but I'm looking at the hand and I'm not seeing one.
Oh, goodness, you're right.
Is there a supporter? No,
it's a boss's orders.
There's a boss's orders, and there's a Magma Basin,
and double Medicham,
and a Battle VIP pass. So I'm not sure he actually does have the switch out here. Remember, Magma Basin only accelerates to benched Pokemon, so that actually could throw a spanner. If Arthur doesn't grab a switch out, Aarni actually can get back into the game here.
Wow, okay, that's huge. So that judge, we were saying, oh, it's not that great drawing only 4 cards, but of course we forget it's for both players, and it looks like the judge has disrupted Arthur immensely here.
And like, it's just a switch out. It doesn't even need to be a switch out. It can be a basic energy, so you can manually retreat the Spiritomb while you accelerate with Magma Basin to the Charizard. You don't need much.
No.
But it's not in hand right now. Arthur needs to put the Spiritomb active and hope the top deck gives him a way to get the Spiritomb out of the active, and then you've got the return KO on Mew.
Yeah, and it has to be Spiritomb because everything else has a retreat cost of more than 1. Spiritomb only has a 1 retreat cost, so it increases your outs because, as you just mentioned, you can also just draw a basic energy to be able to pull off the play.
Yeah, basic energy, switch cart. You don't really want an escape rope, but you would at least get some prizes. It would do. It's not the optimal play, but it would work.
Yeah, so Ultra Ball discarding another Genesect and getting a Meloetta. Okay, this makes a lot of sense. It's a great attack to copy, right? It means that you can attack again and again without having to retreat as you would do if you were copying Technoblast.
And right now it does the exact same amount of damage as Technoblast, 210, but it doesn't have that stipulation that you can't use it next turn. So
exactly.
Hits 240, KOs the Entei, and now Arthur should be putting the Spiritomb active. You can Magma Basin, attach the energy to Charizard, and you need a way to get Spiritomb out the active. Actually goes for the Iron Valiant, has a bit more bulk.
It draws a Professor's Research for a turn!
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Oh my goodness.
That'll work.
Oh.
But that does create an awkward situation, because if Arthur had drawn a basic energy, Iron Valiant would have been stuck in the active and there wouldn't be a KO coming down.
I mean, that could still happen. There could be like a research, you find a basic energy but you don't find another switch out. I mean, it's unlikely, but that is still a possibility and that's in play.
And let's not forget, there are 2 switch cart in the prizes. We saw them earlier. So that does actually give fewer outs here. Here's the Professor's Research. Arthur needs a way to get the Iron Valiant out the active. If he gets it, boom! Charizard KO.
Let's see it. I mean, there's so many switch outs. You think surely it's going to get hit.
There's 2 prized.
There's 2 prized.
Oh, there's 2 in hand. Switch and a switch cart. We good. And we are going to see the KO on the Mew V Max.
That's... Arthur's got to be feeling pretty happy about things right now. You're taking a free prize KO using a 1 prize Pokemon.
Yeah, that is the best trade possible in the Pokemon TCG without any weird mechanics. Switching a 1 prizer for a free prizer, that will do very nicely indeed. You're hitting 230 because of the double turbo. With the 120 on, that's enough. You're at 350, you're good. And
I think quite clever here, benching the Moltres as an easy attacking option, that if you put the damage on that with the Magma Basin, that does 90, you can then just KO the Meloetta easily. Oh yeah, that Moltres is an anti-Meloetta, dude. Yeah. That's where we're going. Yeah. Oh, actually draws 3 switching outs from the prizes. So not going to struggle to switch out the active next turn unless another judge comes down. So I heard you like switching outs. And actually, we've seen both the judges played, but there is a Roxanne in Aarni's deck. And that is a concession from Aarni as well. So we are now going into game 3. And that was, with 1 game each. And that was a best case scenario, right? That was exactly what Arthur wants to do to win this game. That was perfect. It was, I'm going to take a turn 1 KO and I'm going to keep going. But we saw a bad start from Aarni, and we saw a turn 1 Spiritomb leading to no turn 1 Genesect. So, yes, Arthur had a very good start, but that was mirrored on the other side by Aarni's bad start. Yeah, it very much was. I'm going to be very curious to see how this game 3 goes, because I imagine now Aarni will choose to go second, and that means now maybe Aarni is the one who gets a chance for a turn 1 KO, because he is playing a build of Mew that can do that. You can get the Elisa Sparkle, you can get the Meloetta out, and you can get a turn 1 knockout. It was one of the decks I was most feared for doing that for a long time. Yeah, it's been a while. I feel like actual, proper job Fusion Mew has been gone for a while. We do a lot of these streams. We get Mew ends up on these streams a lot, right? It's always a DTE version of Mew. When we finally had a chance to check the deck list here as this game was starting, and I see Ice Cube and Meloetta and 2 Elisa Sparkle and 4 Fusion Strike, I'm like, hang on a second. It's been a while, right? We're not 6 months ago here. And actually, it's working. We haven't seen Meloetta come in, but in both games, we've seen Aarni search the Meloetta and start preparing for it to come in. Yeah, I mean, in that game, we did see... It did get copied by Mew, yes. Yeah, it did, because relevant for, like we mentioned, being able to attack multiple turns in a row without switching. Absolutely, but in terms of using it as a single prize attacker to skew the prize trade, not as much. It hasn't come in yet, but it's right there. Yeah. And it can KO those 2 prize Pokemon on Arthur's side of the field. So here we go.
Free Cramomatic, that's not nice.
I mean, it could be worse, but that's just funny to see, to be honest.
There's actually 3 Forest Seal Stone in Aarni's list, so 1 being prized, not a big deal.
Oh, okay, yeah. I mean, it's quite common for, the Mew list to play high counts of, the Forest Seal Stone. Aarni chose to go first.
Yeah, Aarni has chosen to go first, which is going to give off. And we saw it didn't go well last time. But I think part of Aarni's thinking here is he's not starting Spiritomb again.
Yeah,
you know your opponent only plays 1 Spiritomb, right? No one plays more than 1 Spiritomb in Iron Valiant. And yes, I'm sure one of you watching does. If you do, let us know in the Twitch chat who plays the most Spiritomb in their Iron Valiant list. But you feel pretty confident that what happened last game is not happening again.
Just play 4. Just play 4 Spiritombs, they always start with it, right?
But now we got 2 Genesect, we got 2 Mew, that Featherball going and grabbing a Mew. It's going to lead to a lot of draws early doors here.
Yeah, it is, and that's very important for Aarni. However, if Arthur can find a Spiritomb early, like on this turn 1 and get a knockout, still in a very good spot. Like, even if Aarni has a better setup here, that's still going to be the way that he gets himself into this game.
Yeah, that's what you're going to be looking for. We got 3 Genesect, we got 2 Mew. There's no Spiritomb down, so you can start drawing. But first, we're going to empty out the hand a little bit. We're eyeing up an Ultra Ball, and that is going to get 3 cards out of hand, which then lets you draw an extra 3 with your Genesect.
Yeah, that's that lovely, of course, play the prize pack Ultra Ball there. I love the foil on those cards so much. Sorry, just a brief aside, that the Galaxy foil just looks absolutely gorgeous.
And the Amelakar artwork. They've not done many cards in the Pokemon TCG, but the ones they have are stunning. Big fan of Amelakar and their artwork. So what are we going to get? We're going to get a Mew. It's the classic free split, 3 Genesect, 3 Mew. So now every Fusion Strike system draws until you have 6 cards in your hand.
That's quite interesting, because we were just talking about how the single prizing for the math hasn't come in yet, and it looks like that's going to be the case again.
There is a chance that this is just a reaction to that, where you're basically just going, I did not draw last game, I want to draw as much as I possibly can this game. And we've talked before about having 3 Mew, opening up that Psychic Leap play to heal off your Mew, and that's the thing. If your Mew VMAX aren't getting 1-hit KO'd, and they rarely are, well, Psychic Leap becomes way better because you can use that to make sure your Mew VMAX just don't get KO'd.
Aarni has opened up with his one-off path to the peak every single game.
And it is literally, there's 1 path to the peak, 2 Lost City in the deck.
But Arthur also already has the Magma Basin, so it ended up being not relevant again.
But we got a turn 1 Battle VIP pass. We've got Magma Basin in hand. Arthur is going to get some stuff cooking here, but we are down to 10 minutes remaining.
Oh, that's a good point. And most of the time, I would look at that and think, ooh, probably going to finish in a tie. But both of these decks are the kinds of decks that could, in theory, pretty reasonably finish a game in that 10 minutes. But it's going to be on the players to play fast enough to do it. Yeah,
if the players pick up their pace and play like they want to win, we could see it. And look, both these players are in pretty good position. They're both sitting on 28 points. They are, I think that's going into this round, 28 points. There was 1 player on 29 and then 4 players on 28. So they are in very good position. But you don't want to be dropping more points. And again, I got to mention, Arthur was 9-0 yesterday and started 1 draw, 1 loss in today's matches.
Yeah, it's not a great place to be. Now, we did see Arthur briefly, it is a great place to be, sorry, misspoke, but not great in terms of the start today. Hoping, I mean, if Arthur wins this, it will be his first win of the day.
That's my point. You need to start stacking those wins in day 2.
Yeah, but to go back to the game, there's a very interesting decision there. Arthur was considering maybe going for the Moltres, but the thing that's important to remember about the Moltres is that there is, it doesn't hit for weakness. Like, nope. Even so, you can't use that plus like attacking on bits to KO a Genesect easily. So based on that, decided to go for the Iron Valiant and the Squawkabilly instead. This time you can use the Fleet-Footed. There is no Spiritomb in play, so that is all gravy. But it looks like I found a Chorus Experiment. Now, I think this could be a really good call here, because with Chorus Experiment, you can dig more into the deck, and then after that, you can Squawkabilly, get the fire in the discard, and then you got your Magma Basin set up.
It will be quite nice. Looks like we are getting some Tachyon bits rolling here with the switch car. It's going to be going, I mean, you've got to imagine, onto the Mew because of the mass we mentioned earlier. Softening it up. Nope, going on to the Genesect in the active, which, that's interesting, because that kind of says I don't think I'm getting a KO with Entei this turn.
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, surely you got to have the confidence, right? I mean, this... You need to go for this turn 2 KO. Like, this is how you actually, have a chance in this matchup. And, interestingly enough, no, not going to play the Chorus Experiment, just going to go ahead with the Squawk and Siege straight away.
Maybe hoping for a Professor's research to dig even further off of this. Might not work, but it could.
Yeah, but it's again, it's like a safe play versus a gamble, right? It's, do you want to guarantee the extra supporter dig, or do you want to be content with saying, you know what, if I miss it, I miss it, it's fine?
Did not get a supporter. Does have an ancient half to go and get an energy and a switch, so can attack with Entei this turn.
Earthen Vessel.
Oh, what did I say?
Ancient half.
Oh, that's miles away. Got the Earthen Vessel to go and get the energy. I wasn't even close.
No. Okay, but there is a Forest Seal Stone, so you can use that to grab yourself a Professor's Research. So
yes,
All
absolutely.
good.
But you've already got what you need for the Entei. You've already got the Magma Basin. You've got your Earthen Vessel to go and get your energy here. So that means you are guaranteed the attack with Entei, because you've got a switching card as well. And that means that and the Entei is going to be doing at this stage, what, 360 damage. Yeah. You don't need that Tachyon Bits damage on the Genesect.
Again, it does make me question, what the 20 damage on the Genesect, sort of the reasoning behind that. I'm sure there was some kind of reasoning behind it, but something I'd, I guess, maybe to ask about afterwards if we get a chance to interview Arthur.
Well, either way, it looks like Entei is going to be getting a big KO this turn. We've got some energy from that Earthen Vessel. One goes on to the Entei. Is there already one in the discard pile?
Yeah, it was Squawk and Seized away.
That's what
yes,
I thought.
Yeah.
So that Magma Basin, you're not... I mean, you can search for a supporter and get it in the discard. You don't even need to, quite frankly.
Yeah. Now, one thing that is worrying me a little bit, we were just talking about how, Arthur needs to be sort of play fast here in order to take this win, but it's... you see, he's agonizing over decisions. The clock is running down. I'm a little bit worried here. And wait, he's going for the switch first?
Switching into the Entei. You need some. You can only Magma Basin onto a benched Pokemon. So now that Entei is not a valid Magma Basin target.
I mean, I think there is another switching card in hand, so maybe Arthur's thinking, you know what, I want to fleet-footed before I go for this Star Alchemy, because then maybe if I get a supporter, I can Star Alchemy for something else. That's kind of what I'm thinking here. So yeah, fleet-footed. What does Arthur see? It's another Entei.
There's another Entei. It's an Entei party, and all you lovely ladies and gentlemen at home are invited.
Yes.
So we do have another switch there. So we are going to switch into the Iron Valiant here to get another Tachyon Bits.
Well, no, it's already been used.
Oh, yes, good point. It's already got the counter on.
Yeah.
Of course, it's not one of those that resets when it goes to the bench. There is your V-Star power. That is, of course, your Forest Seal Stone. Search for any card you want. Yeah. Whatever you want, go get it.
Yeah. And I guess Arthur went for this because he knew he had enough switching outs to make it work. So you're potentially sacrificing the guaranteed attack with the Entei, because now you need to draw another switching out after the Professor's Research. But
yes,
Arthur thought the gamble with the fleet-footed was worth it enough to go for it. So, yeah.
Drawing extra cards is mostly, unless you're going to deck out, drawing extra cards is almost always good.
Yeah.
So getting that fleet-footed, certainly that's something we could see being relevant here.
But again, the worry is the time, right? Arthur really needs to be speeding up here. The clock is ticking down. We were saying about how these decks both win and lose fast, but there's only 5 minutes left. I mean, it can happen, but Arthur really just got to start picking up the pace here.
I mean, if you end your turn and you just get your 2 turns of time, you can still win.
Oh, I guess that's true, yeah.
2 prizes this turn. I got 2 turns of time, take 2 on each, but it takes away that, it takes away the extra time. It takes away your margins there. It means you're forced into getting a KO on each of your last 2 turns, rather than being able to take a turn to set up a KO.
This is very interesting. Arthur got a Nest Ball and actually decided to go for the Moltres. Okay, so I guess Arthur's thinking here that actually attacking with the Moltres here is the best option. Is he maybe thinking that next turn he wants to try and go for like a Yoga Loop?
This could be setting up a Yoga Loop play. This absolutely could be, because now you're getting damage onto the Genesect. Remember, it doesn't hit for weakness. This won't be a KO. This won't be a KO. Oh, I think that's the problem here. I think Arthur was setting up a play to KO the Moltres using the weakness, but it doesn't hit for weakness. That's why we saw the Tachyon Bits. If it did hit for weakness, those 2 damage from the Tachyon Bits would have been the difference, and I think that is just Arthur forgetting about Moltres not hitting for weakness, because you look at that entire turn, the Tachyon Bits on the Genesect, getting the Moltres, not Magma Basining onto the Entei, all of that was setting up for a Moltres attack.
But it doesn't work because it doesn't hit for weakness. That's a very unfortunate oversight there from Arthur. And again, we were just talking about, nerves, right? Arthur is in this position where he's on stream, having had this insane record day one. You feel the pressure, and it's very easy to just you make a simple mistake like that in a situation like this. So yeah, but you got to feel for him in this situation.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, but like we said earlier, these things happen. It's stressful playing on stream, but that has given Aarni a big boost. Now, all of a sudden, Aarni has not seen that turn 2 KO, or turn 1 KO that he was terrified of. He can go and get the first attack here. You would love to see a boss's orders. Or an escape rope. Escape rope would work here. There's no single prizer on the bench.
Yes, absolutely. And if Aarni can do it quick enough, Aarni is going to be in that position that we just mentioned that Arthur would like to be in, where you take a 2-prize knockout and then you have enough turns in time to take 2 more 2-prize knockouts to win the game. Aarni
actually has boss's orders in hand. It's already there. It's already in hand. There's no Forest Seal Stone yet. But there's a feather ball. You don't really want a boss's orders here, because if you can escape rope here, that gives you 2 prizes, and you're only playing 2 boss in the deck. You want to save them for your next 2 turns.
Yeah, is Aarni playing Power Pad? I believe, yeah, there is one. Okay, so you could use that to get back boss.
You could, but then you've got to get the power pad and then draw back into the boss. You're right that it's an option, but you really want to escape rope this turn if you can, to take the pressure off of that.
Yeah, this is the best turn to escape rope. So
Absolutely.
if you can, then you definitely should.
But you don't need to, because you've got boss.
Yes. So Fusion Strike system, not finding it yet.
Nor are you finding one of those free Forest Seal Stone. And actually passing, did they not have a switch out?
No, I guess not. Oh dear. So very unfortunate draw from Aarni, and all of a sudden now Arthur's in a very good position. You can just announce a KO, and now you're in the position again where you can take 2 prizes in 4 prizes in 2 turns.
I just kind of assume, like, Mew always has a switching out.
Yeah, well,
you never get stuck in the active. Well, I suppose we can not say that anymore, but that was very surprising to me. I just did not assume that was going to happen.
Wow.
And now Moltres kind of is hitting for weakness, because you get to attack twice without being disrupted in the middle. So now Moltres will get the KO on the Genesect. And as long as Arthur finishes this turn in the next 1 minute and 25 seconds, Arthur will have 2 turns to take 2 2-prize KOs and win this match.
Yeah, and that's exactly what he needs to do. But it, again, needs to be quicker. But you see that timer counting down. There's only 1 minute and 15 seconds left. You need to announce this attack quickly. You need to give yourself the turns to take the last 4 prizes.
If Arthur's turn 0, he can't win this game.
Okay, he's announced it. Yes? No? Maybe? Have you announced the attack? You thinking about it?
You cannot be turn 0, Arthur. You will not win this game if you're turn 0. You will have 1 prize to take 4 turns.
Yeah,
one turn to take 4 prizes.
Okay.
There we go. Arthur is not going to be turn 0. It is still open.
Yeah.
Aarni needs 2 prizes now. Aarni again needs to not be turn 0. There's the boss's orders on the Entei. Announce the attack. Don't be turn 0. And there we go. So Aarni is not turn 0. Both players can still win this match.
Yeah. And Aarni recognizes the situation, knows I need to play lightning fast if I'm going to have a chance of winning. And Arthur, I guess, doesn't need to do the same as much, but needs to find the 2-prize knockout this turn to have a chance of continuing on to win.
Or just don't be turn 0 and then you get 2 more turns.
That
assuming Aarni doesn't win the game, which he could with his 2 remaining turns.
Yeah. Now, and this is a little bit of a tricky decision here, because Arthur needs to think to himself, okay, what's actually the best thing to promote here? I think maybe it does just have to be the Entei. I believe you have do you have an NG in hand already? Oh, no, I guess it has to be the Moltres. If you don't have the NG in hand, you can't really go for it.
And there's something really important. Aarni Benson Ice Cube, which turns off escape rope as an option.
Oh, that is very, very true. Yes, so,
And time has been called. Arthur is turn 0.
Okay. Either player could win this game. There is potential for both players here to win. There is the Fire Energy there in hand, so okay. Then that's interesting that Arthur went for the Moltres then in that case. But the rest of the hand is a bit unworkable. That's why.
You can't UV max it. No. And actually, there is an escape rope in hand. Aarni benching that Ice Cube could be the play that wins him this match, because, actually, there is a UV max that also could have been used to block, but it still gives you a great 1-prize option, and Arthur can no longer win the game. Arthur has 1 more turn to take 4 prizes. It's not happening.
No, there's no way to do it right unless, wait, could you do enough yoga? No, I was trying to think if you could pick off the Ice Cube.
Ice Cube's got 110. It's out of range.
No, that's not happening. No.
Meloetta, you actually could still have potentially gotten.
Yeah, but no, with that, unfortunately, I guess Arthur's hand a little bit too unworkable. You could have maybe tried and gone for another dig with the fleet-footed. Maybe that's something that Arthur didn't go for. But in this situation, Aarni is now in the one player in the position who can actually win this and not make it a tie.
It's why the single prize that you benched had to be Ice Cube, not Meloetta.
Yeah.
So Aarni here, it's very simple. You take a 2-prize attack, 2 prizes this turn, 2 prizes next turn, you will win this game. And Escape Rope is on the board. There are 3 Pokemon on the bench. They are all 2-prize Pokemon.
We were talking about how last said about how Escape Rope, that was the best turn to play it, but given that, there's no other single prizer, you can still do it now.
Escape Rope or Boss's Orders. There's only 1 boss left in the deck because 1 has, of course, already been played. Yes, you can Power Pad back in and dig for it. That is an option. There are different ways to get it. If you attack into the Moltres, this game is a tie.
Yes.
Or this match is a tie. Simple as that. That Moltres is pointless to KO.
Oh, but wait. Oh, I think Aarni has the Forest Seal Stone in hand, so it's guaranteed.
Then that was good.
Yes.
That will get the gusting. And there is a Forest Seal Stone in hand, you're right. I want Escape Rope this turn.
Yeah.
Because Escape Rope this turn leaves the boss in my deck for next turn.
Yeah. So we're going to do some Fusion Strike systems first. So draw another Forest Seal Stone. In fact, wait, was that 2 Forest Seal Stone? Yeah, I think
there are 3 in the deck.
Literally just drew 2 off that Fusion Strike system. There's a Chromatic there. Of course, you can't use that to discard the Forest Seal Stone anymore. So, but there isn't. Was there? There is a switch card. So let's see. Is this going to be a
yes? Oh, that is huge. Because now you get to go and get the Escape Rope or boss this turn. It's obviously going to be the rope. And then next turn you've got Forest Seal Stone, which can go and get you the boss's orders, which guarantees you can pick off bench Pokemon both turns.
And with Aarni having drawn 2 more Forest Seal Stones, you can put 3 down. And I think that checkmates Arthur. I don't think Arthur has any way to remove that many Forest Seal Stones from the board.
No, you can't get rid of 3 Forest Seal Stones. You got 1 Lost Vacuum in your deck. Even if you Lost Vacuum 1 and KO the Pokemon to which the other is attached, there is still going to be 1 there available. So there's the Escape Rope. What's coming active? It doesn't really matter. It's not going to be Entei because that's your only viable attacker.
I mean, I guess it's not Squawkabilly, right? Because that's just like the easiest thing to pick off. So you give them the freebie, as it were.
Because Power Tablet's already been played, so the KO's already on the board.
Yeah, exactly. But no, Arthur trying to give up the Iron Valiant instead. Yeah, there's Forest Seal Stone number 2, Forest Seal Stone number 3. Arthur is playing, like, how many Lost Vacuum is Arthur playing?
1. 1 Lost Vacuum.
That's not enough, Ross.
I just told you, he's playing 1, that's not enough. I'm pretty sure Aarni has just sewn up this game and therefore this match. Because all they need next turn, they might need a switching out and a boss. I don't think they've got 2 consecutive attacks on the board right now, but they've got Genesect.
And there's no Spiritomb down, so Aarni can, even if the Fusion Strike energies weren't on the board, Aarni can just Fusion Strike system all day long.
But they are on the board, so both those Genesect are going to be on, they're going to be in play next turn, they're going to be available. So Aarni can attack with, and you need a double turbo energy, basically. Double turbo energy gusting, I'm pretty sure checkmates the game at this point.
You can also just retreat into the other Mew, right?
Only 1 Mew's got energy on, though.
Oh, for next turn, sure. Yeah.
So this turn you've got the Mew with the double turbo on the bench.
Yeah.
Next turn you need energy.
So putting on the Ice Cube. Okay, that could be interesting. Block Slider maybe coming in.
Yeah, and I mean look, it does work. It is 40 damage for each Fusion Strike energy attached to all of your Pokemon. Will hit for weakness on the actives that would KO an Entei.
Yeah, that would also be a reason to give up the Squawkabilly now, right? Because it means that, if you get 4 Fusion Strike energies down, you can actually block Slider for 160 and KO the Squawkabilly on the bench.
You can. So what we need next turn is Boss's Orders and either DTE for Mew or Fusion Energy for Ice Cube.
Yeah, so Cross Fusion Strike, copying, it must be Technoblast, I guess, takes the KO. Arthur cannot win this game, as we already mentioned. There is no way for him to take 4 prizes this turn.
Nope.
So what does he do? Well, there's a Lost Vacuum.
You KO Mew, just because that's got energy on. So that forces Aarni to have an energy to win the game next turn, which he does have in hand, incidentally. I just saw the double turbo in hand. And with double turbo in hand and Forest Seal Stone to go and get the boss's orders, that's it.
You can also Forest Seal Stone for the 4 Fusion Strike energy, right? And then block Slider to win as well.
That would also work.
Style points.
I mean, look, I love Ice Cube. So that would be fun for me, doing 160 to the bench Squawkabilly. The point is, Aarni's got game in hand right now.
Yeah.
Aarni is guaranteed to win next turn with his hand. If Arthur can KO the Mew while playing an Iono, maybe?
But again, you just Forest Seal Stone.
But you need more than one thing.
Well, no, you don't, because you just block Slider with the Ice Cube.
But you need another energy to block Slider with the Ice Cube.
Which you get with the Forest Seal Stone.
But then you... Oh, yes, you have a good point. Yeah. I forgot you don't need to gust to get the...
No.
Squawkabilly. Yeah, but putting that Squawkabilly active and letting it be KO'd earlier, I think, would have been the stronger play.
Yeah, because it takes that potential option off the board. So, yeah, I mean, I think it's not relevant in this instance anyway because there is no Iono in hand, but it could have come up.
It could have come up. You're absolutely right. Either way, Aarni, like, look, we're looking for these tiny margins here. Aarni has got this game. Yeah. Let's be clear.
We're talking about hypotheticals, and Arthur plays the Lost Vacuum. Arnie's like, which Forest Sealstone do you want?
It's never a good sign when you play a Lost Vacuum and your opponent's like, which of these 3 Forest Sealstone are you aiming for? It doesn't matter. I've got 2 more. Oh, and look, you've got to give it up for Arthur here. He is clearly trying to do everything he can to stay in this game and frustrate his opponent. There is guarantee that the hand will not be disrupted, although, as you explained beautifully, Freya, it doesn't actually matter if the hand is. Oh, no, that's not strictly No. There's no. Again, I'm looking for tiny margins now. It wasn't going to work. My point wasn't going to work. I'm pretty sure this game is checkmated.
Yes,
I'm looking
sure
for
as well.
anything which could change things. And Arthur is clearly still playing this game out in the hope that it's going to end in a tie, not a loss. Again, Arthur cannot win this game. It is not possible.
Right.
He's just trying to stop Aarni winning on his last turn.
Nest Ball for a Radiant Charizard.
An Energy or a Magma Basin would mean this could attack. It's got an Energy in hand.
Yeah.
Got a Magma Basin in hand.
I guess at this point, Arthur's just thinking, is there any way that maybe Arthur just misses the out? Maybe Aarni accidentally announces an attack and takes 1 prize and it's a tie?
Well, no, like, Aarni could have the last Fusion Strike Energy prize and not
true.
get boss's orders. Like, from Arthur's point of view, we know it's sewn up.
Yeah.
Arthur doesn't. Arthur's thinking, if you miss boss and your last Fusion Strike Energy is prized, maybe I can still win next turn with Entei.
Yeah, but
you
there
can't.
it is.
There's the boss's orders, and Aarni wins 2 games to 1, as we knew has been inevitable for a couple of turns. Very, very well played by Aarni there. And what I loved about that last game, Aarni went, I'm going to do this. But if you get rid of Forest Seal Stone, here's 2 more. But I need DTE for the Mew. But what if I set up the Ice Cube so I don't actually need my DTE anymore, and just setting up a complete checkmate scenario?
Yeah, that was absolutely phenomenal stuff. And